assumed that Beth and I would be friends forever, but then in the middle of 8th grade, the Goldbergs went through the world's nastiest divorce. Beth went a little nuts. I don't blame her. When her dad got involved with this 21-year-old dentist hygienist, Beth got involved with the junk food aisle at the grocery store. She carried processed snack cakes around the way toddlers carry teddy bears. She gained like 20 pounds, but I didn't think it was a big deal. I figured she'd get back to her usual weight once the shock wore off. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only person who noticed. May 14th was Fun Fit Day at Surrey Middle School, so the gym was full of booths set up by local health clubs, and doctors and dentists and sport leagues all trying to entice us not to end up as couch potatoes. That part was fine. What wasn't fine was when the whole school sat down to watch the 8th grade cheerleaders program on physical fitness. They had a PowerPoint presentation and it started out okay, if a little stupid. Finding their misspelled words made it kind of fun, actually. Vegetables and carbohydrates, and don't forget to eat plenty of protein. Beth and I sat there and laughed. Good times. Then came the next segment. You know those do and don't pages in fashion magazines, like do try belting your hideous $900 fuchsia sweater with a ridiculous $400 belt. And don't leave the house with your underwear on the outside of your pants. The cheerleaders did that, only they used pictures of kids from our school. Do exercise regularly. Insert photo of several cheerleaders looking really pretty as they pretended to lift weights. Don't sit on the sidelines in gym class. The picture that went with it had a black bar over the kid's eyes just like in a magazine, but everyone could tell it was Javier Delgado, who had been overweight since kindergarten. That's when most people started laughing nervously, and that's when Beth and I stopped laughing. Do eat lots of fresh produce. A shot of Kira Conroy and Mega Winley daintily eating a salad outside the lunchroom. Don't go back for seconds in the lunch line. And there it was, a picture of Beth. Yeah, there's a black bar over her face, but it was obviously her. She had her favorite rainbow striped sweater on, the really expensive one from Nordstrom, the one she loved to wear even if it was tight and sometimes rode up a little to show off her new Twinkie stomach. Beth didn't want to come back to school after that. She got out of her mom's car a minute before first bell, ate lunch in the main office, and got special permission to leave 5 minutes before final bell. Probably because Mrs. Goldberg and Javier Delgado's mom threatened to sue the pants off the school board. The cheerleaders got a slap on the wrist. A bunch of us started a petition to keep the high school from letting them on the junior varsity squad. We had hundreds of signatures, including a lot from teachers and parents. The JV coach at Surrey High agreed and barred the whole team from tryouts. But then the varsity cheerleaders decided to stand up for their sisters, and they invited just about the whole troop to skip JV and join their team. That was right around when Beth and her mom put their house on the market and started packing up to move to Florida. So now, not only did my best friend leave, but the cheerleaders and their mindless followers assumed I was personally responsible for the petition, which, yeah, I was, and started being only openly rude to me, shutting doors in my face, leaving nasty notes on my desk and in my locker, making fun of me when I could obviously hear them. That's when I began keeping really quiet in class and finding ways to show the other kids I wasn't afraid of them, like staring them straight in the eye when they looked at me, taking a step toward them when they walked to me, or walking right up to them and getting in their personal space if I heard them say my name, saying the meanest things I could think of whenever I had the chance, repeating rumors and blushing them. I found that Kira Conroy had been arrested for shoplifting at the mall and made sure everybody knew about it. The girl who had 5 beers on New Year's Eve and peed her pants. The girl who tripped and fell off the stage at the Miss Teen California pageant. I shared those stories the moment I heard them. All's fair in war, right? So suddenly I wasn't a nobody anymore. I was a somebody. Somebody everyone was afraid of. Since Megan Wiley was the captain of the cheerleaders, the school withheld her Student of the Year award. Seeing how she's always been star of the student body and disputed queen of the cheerleaders, I can only imagine the whole fun and fit presentation was her idea in the first place. And it's not like she'd break your formation and say otherwise, even if it wasn't. Beth and her mom moved the Saturday after the last week of school. We tried to stay in touch. We really did. But I guess going to a ritzy private school changes your priorities. All I know is that when we swore we'd talk once a week, and it took about 3 months for that plan to dissolve into nothing. or bored. Our relationship doesn't measure up to Hallmark standards. There's one group I hang out with at school, but their attitude is getting tiresome. My secret name for them is the Doom Squad. Everyone assumes they're morbid and strange, so they do their best to live up to the hype. Some of them are really nice, and I think they could be okay if they would just stop trying so hard. I mean, just because you don't want to be a cookie cutter clone doesn't mean you have to wear a spiky collar and dress like a vampire wannabe. In the first place, I'm too lazy to put that much effort into my appearance, and in the second place, I'm really paranoid about wearing non-matching blacks, so I usually end up in jeans and a t-shirt. After history, I stopped by my locker. Lydia Small, who might as well be the Doom Squad poster child, wandered up and rested her forehead on the locker next to mine. She spends a lot of time and energy trying to give people the impression that she's too emo and gothic to be interested in anything. Still, I did notice she was wearing a wedding veil that she tried to include a bunch of black plastic spiders onto. Lydia is rude and overbearing and pretentious, and to be honest, there are actually several people I'd rather hang out with than her. But she's the one who always seems to appear out of thin air, and because of her big old attitude, people tend to do what she says. So when she walks over at lunch and says, "Move, worm," to whoever's sitting next to me, they move. In spite of my misgivings, Lydia and I have been hanging out a little lately, going to see movies, people watching at the mall, ending up next to each other at lunch. She was drawn to me like a moth to a porch light. In fact, sometimes I suspect it was my ambivalence about her that made her so eager to hang out. She wasn't best friend material, but I was getting used to having her around. "You won't believe what Pepper Laird just said to me," I said. Lydia was quiet for a second. I waited for her to say something sympathetic. "Ugh," she said, "a fair start." As I drew in a breath that elaborated, Lydia widened her eyes. Sabrina Woodburn dyed her hair black. Who does she think she is? Morticia Adams? She's in marching band. What a wannabe. "Weren't you in Glee Club until the middle of last year?" I asked. Lydia sputtered. "That's totally different." "Sure," I said. "Keep telling yourself that." Now, see, if somebody talked to me that way, I would tell them exactly where they could put their opinion, and then I would assume the friendship was over. But Lydia just pouted and looped her arm through mine. We started walking toward homeroom together. As we passed a group of cheerleaders, Lydia stuck her tongue out at them and clicked her tongue bruising against her teeth. They drew back in a scandalized herd. "Oh, that is so mature," one girl said. As we kept walking, the crowd seemed to thin a little. I spotted Megan Wiley leaning up against the locker, talking seriously to a girl in a pink cowboy hat who was crying so hard her mascara ran down her cheeks. The girl was Emily Rosen. I had Spanish with her. She was nice. I planned to drag Lydia right past without stopping, but she saw the tears and came to a screeching halt. "Hey, Em," she called. "What are you doing?" I asked under my breath, as both Megan and Emily looked at us. "I hear you had a big night with Rory Henderson," Lydia said sweetly. "Gonna have to give that promise ring back to your daddy, huh?" Emily's face froze for a moment, then she was bawling again. I clamped a hand on Lydia's arm as Megan shot a dirty look in our direction. The only thing that saved us was the swaggering arrival of Rory Henderson himself. Rory's only popular because his dad is a rich lawyer and his mom used to be the weather girl on Channel 12. He's not really good looking, and his entourage is made up of goons who laugh at everything he says, even though none of it is funny. "Hi, Rory, you big stud," Lydia cooed, and he gave her a half second of a smile. She dissolved into giggles. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Megan glaring. "God, Lydia, you're so obnoxious," I hissed. Lydia laughed her "I don't care about anything" laugh. "I know, right?" You didn't have to say that to Emily. Emily was genuinely sweet, the kind of girl you would offer your notes if you weren't absent. "She deserves it," Lydia said